Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into a really fascinating book, Cloudbuster Nine.
Yeah, it's at the intersection of World War II history and baseball.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about major league players like Ted Williams, Johnny Pesky, trading their bats for pilot training at UNC Chapel Hill's Navy pre-flight school.
It's a really interesting look at how America's pastime sort of played a role in preparing these young men for combat.
It's amazing to think about, like, star athletes today putting their entire careers on hold
It's a very different era.
to serve their country, right?
Yeah, Cloudbuster Nine really captures that spirit, I think.
So what we're going to do today is I kind of want to unpack these stories,
Yeah.
explore the key turning points and the fascinating details that make this book so compelling.
Yeah, and we're going to uncover how the pre-flight program shaped these men into leaders.
Okay, so let's set the scene a little bit.
Mm.
It's 1942. Pearl Harbor has just been attacked,
Right.
and the U.S. Navy needs pilots, and they need them fast.
Yeah, the pre-flight schools were created as a rapid response to this need.
So in addition to flight instruction, cadets were learning survival skills,
Yeah, wilderness survival in particular.
and one of the coaches was Don Kepler, and he was an expert in wilderness survival.
Right, he had spent years honing his skills in the Pennsylvania wilderness.
So how did they even think to incorporate wilderness survival into a program focused on flight training?
Well, I mean, they needed to be prepared for every eventuality, right? If they were shot down, they had to know how to survive.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we have this intense training program, and then into this mix comes Major League Baseball players.
Yeah, they're used to a certain level of comfort, a certain amount of fame.
Right, and then they just show up at Chapel Hill.
It really shook things up.
And even someone like Ted Williams really struggled to adapt.
He had a reputation as kind of a rebel early on.
Yeah, so how did this transformation happen?
Well, it was a number of factors. The intense physical training, the camaraderie with his fellow cadets.
But were there any specific training exercises that challenged him?
Well, the sandbag drill was particularly brutal.
Yeah, what was that?
They had to strap sandbags to their backs, a third of their body weight,
Oh, wow.
step up and down a ladder repeatedly for 5 minutes straight
5 minutes.
at 1 second intervals.
That sounds impossible.
Yeah, it was grueling, but Williams refused to quit.
So this program was designed to build mental toughness and resilience.
Absolutely. And, the teamwork element really played into Williams's leadership ability.
So we have these elite athletes pushed to their limits, learning to fly, learning to survive in the wilderness. But it wasn't all drills and training, was it?
No, of course not.
There was a sense of community.
Right, a sense of camaraderie. Yeah, and even Frank Porter Graham, the president of UNC, he had a deep connection to baseball.
Oh, really?
His brother was the real-life Moonlight Graham,
Oh, wow.
the player who got into one major league game but never got to bat.
And there's this really great story in the book about a 9-year-old bat boy, Jimmy Roth. And he gets these private batting lessons from Ted Williams and Johnny Pesky.
Yeah, it's a heartwarming story.
Yeah, you see the human side of these players, right?
Absolutely. It shows the importance of human connection during a national crisis.
Yeah, so it seems like this program really instilled a sense of purpose and responsibility
Absolutely.
that went way beyond the baseball diamond or the cockpit.
And that sense of purpose was really apparent when the Cloudbuster Nine faced off against their rivals from the Naval Air Station in Norfolk.
These games were legendary.
Yeah, they were really fiercely contested, drew massive crowds.
And on the Norfolk team was a young George H.W. Bush.
It's just one example of how the pre-flight program brought together people from all walks of life.
And we can't forget about the Cloudbusters' legendary game against Babe Ruth's Yankees at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, yeah, that was an incredible event.
We'll have to talk about that when we come back.
That game against the Yankees, it was more than just a game. I mean, it was really a symbol of national unity during wartime.
Okay, so it's July 1943. Yankee Stadium is packed.
Yeah.
We've got all these baseball titans squaring off against each other, and it's all for war relief.
You had some serious star power on both sides. Ted Williams, Johnny Pesky for the Cloudbusters, of course. And then on the Yanklins,
Right.
you had Snuffy Sternwise. He had a history with UNC, actually.
Really?
Yeah, he was the first athlete to captain both the football and baseball teams at Chapel Hill.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. So what about Babe Ruth?
He was the co-manager of the Yanklins alongside
Oh,
Don Kepler.
Don Kepler, the wilderness survival expert, was co-managing a baseball team with Babe Ruth?
It just shows you how everybody came together during the war effort.
So the book does a great job of capturing the atmosphere of that day. The energy of the crowd, the
Yeah,
excitement.
it was electric.
Okay, so the Cloudbusters, they arrive exhausted, ready to play.
Right, because they had to take an overnight bus to New York,
Oh, really?
crammed in with all their gear.
So they're exhausted, they get there, and then Ted Williams almost misses the entire game.
Yeah, he was on a different training schedule. It was a mad dash to get him to Yankee Stadium.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And then you've got Babe Ruth leaving his mark literally on a reporter's shoes.
With his chewing tobacco.
Yeah, classic Babe Ruth. So the game itself was close, but the Yankees ended up winning.
Right.
Was there any disappointment?
I don't think so. I mean, the score didn't really matter. It was about something bigger.
The book calls it baseball at its finest.
And for Ted Williams, it was a real turning point. Even his commanding officer praised his maturity.
It sounds like the experience really changed his perspective.
For sure. He wasn't just a ball player anymore. He was a man who understood service and sacrifice.
And we should mention that not all of the Cloudbusters became fighter pilots. Some of them, like Williams, they ended up as flight instructors.
Another way to contribute to the war effort, right?
No, the book doesn't shy away from the difficult stuff. It talks about the toll that war takes on everyone.
Yeah, you see that in Buddy Hassett's story.
Whatever.
He faced a lot of personal tragedy after the war. It reminds us that the wounds of war, they run deep.
Absolutely. It makes you think about the lasting impact of conflict.
Yeah, on individuals, families, entire communities.
Cloudbuster Nine, it really weaves together these personal stories with the historical context of World War II.
It shows you this unique moment in time when sport and patriotism were completely intertwined.
And the book really captures the atmosphere at the Chapel Hill pre-flight school. It wasn't just about drills.
Right, there was a whole culture there.
They had a band, right?
The pre-flight band played at some of the games.
Really?
They had dances, social events.
So it wasn't all serious all the time.
No, they needed that sense of normalcy in the midst of everything.
It's those personal connections that make the book so compelling.
It really brings you back to that time. You get
Right.
to know these guys on a personal level.
Cloudbuster Nine is full of those moments that reveal the complexities of human nature, the power of the human spirit.
It's a story that deserves to be told and remembered.
I think we've given our listeners a pretty good taste of what Cloudbuster Nine is all about.
It's entertaining, it makes you think, and we definitely recommend checking it out.
And if you want to learn more about this incredible chapter of American history, you can find a link to buy Cloudbuster Nine in the episode description.
You won't regret it.
You know, it's incredible to think that this program brought together future presidents, baseball legends, everyday heroes who went on to shape history.
And the Cloudbuster Nine is just one small part of this larger pre-flight program. Thousands of young men went through these schools.
The book talks about the lasting impact the program had on UNC.
Oh, yeah, it transformed the university, brought new faculty students.
Really solidified its reputation as a leader in higher education.
And the legacy of these Cloudbuster Nines, they continue to inspire,
Yeah,
reminding us that even facing adversity, there's always that hope and resilience.
absolutely. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me was John Pesky's message to future generations.
Yeah.
The strength within yourself is what you gotta have. Find it, and you will succeed.
Such a powerful message, right?
Really is.
About self-belief and perseverance.
The Cloudbuster Nine, they really embodied those qualities.
They faced their fears, they embraced the unknown, they came out stronger.
And their story, it continues to inspire even today. Photos of the team and their bat boys are in museums, the Hall of Fame.
Serving as a reminder of this unique moment in time.
It's amazing.
Cloudbuster Nine is a book that stays with you. It's timely, but it's also timeless. Reminding us of the sacrifices that were made by those who came before us.
And it inspires us all to kind of live our lives with purpose.
Absolutely. I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in baseball history, the Second World War, or just a great story about the human spirit.
It's a deep dive into a really fascinating time.
A celebration of hope and resilience.
If you're ready to embark on your own deep dive into Cloudbuster 9, check out the link to purchase the book in our episode description.
It's well worth it.
Thanks for joining us today on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.